Hey there, fellow golf lovers, and welcome back to another episode of Tee Up with Kira. I'm your host, Miss Kira P. Today we have a fascinating topic for you, so grab your clubs, settle into your favorite chair, and let's tee off into the episode. Welcome to another episode of Tee Up with Kira. I have a great guest, Daniel Fitzpatrick of Flightscope. No, he is not related to Matt Fitzpatrick, unfortunately. But Daniel, how are you today?
Doing great. Another sunny day in Florida, so can't complain. So
Awesome. My question with your name being Fitzpatrick, do people think you and Matt are related to each other?
yeah, usually, especially with his recent rise to fame, with winning the U.S. Open last year, it was just kind of a coincidence that I do happen to have a working relationship with him. And we aren't actually related, but it was pretty cool when he won the U.S. Open to kind of send a text and for him to respond relatively quickly, surprisingly, early in that evening. So it was it's definitely cool to have the same last name, but unfortunately not. No, we don't share it.
Awesome. So, how did Flightscope come about, and what is the story on how it started, and where is it now, and where is it going?
Sure. Yeah, great question. So, believe it or not, Flightscope is actually the pioneer of tracking sports and analytics data. So, we were the first to bring this type of tracking and analyzing of data to sports. Started with military and defense systems and kind of tracking missiles and explosions and things. And then in the late 80s to early 90s, we kind of moved and transitioned more sporting goods, especially with golf being probably our biggest sport now, which we tracked the first golf ball in 2003. And that was actually in the U.S. So between now and then, we've advanced quite a bit, right? So, in those time frames, we were on a driving range with a battery from a car and a desktop computer to be able to get power and tracking all of this information with a bunch of equipment. And now, we're able to do it with, size things that are, can fit in your golf bag now, right? Or even, we have one that fits in your pocket. So we actually kind of, like I said, we started in the defense system and we moved over into the sporting goods world. And now we're, the leader in radar technology in all of golf. And then we also do baseball and softball. We do cricket, tennis. It's not just golf. It's kind of cool to have a, broad array of different sports that we can analyze data in.
That is so cool. So, how did they come up with the name Flightscope?
Yeah, I'm actually not entirely sure on the name. I'm sure we could get that history and give you that update. But it was, it's definitely been with our founder and CEO, Henry Johnson, who invented the product and is still our lead engineer and CEO and owner to this day. He works in our Orlando office and he's a pretty good golfer himself. So it is cool to be able to work directly with him. But I don't have the exact makeup of the name Flightscope, readily in front of me. I apologize.
Oh, you're totally okay. That's totally fine. So, what makes it different? What does Flightscope make it different compared to your competitors? What's the differences between other launch monitors and analyzers of your golf swing?
Sure. So, we always see the professional golfers on TV, using their launch monitors before, especially major rounds of golf when they're traveling all over. They have different distances their golf ball flies, and so they need that analytical data relatively quickly because they only have a few days to prepare for these events. And so as consumer golf, we've always, watched on TV and we've never really been able to access that technology unless we have, a lot of money. And that's where we kind of paved the way in bringing that technology to the consumer golfer. So we have products that start at $500 all the way up into, $15,000 for a high-end X3 model that you'll see some of the professional users use. But for consumers to then be able to get that same technology without sacrificing accuracy, but it's something that they can afford, it opens up huge ability to get better at golf every time you practice and play. So it's definitely, in my eyes, really eye-opening for what we've done, just because it's been all since like 2017 when we brought the Mevo series out that the technology in golf has quickly evolved. And now it's almost like every golfer you see on the driving range has some piece of technology, whether it's a golf watch or even a rangefinder. As simple as that seems, definitely enhances everything that you learn about your sessions.
That is so cool. Daniel, what is your background? Are you originally from the golf world? How did you get involved in Flightscope?
Yeah, great question. So I actually was born in Iowa. Flightscope is headquartered in Orlando, Florida. So we all live in Florida that work at the office. And I actually moved to Orlando in 2010. So I was actually born in Iowa, grew up in Iowa, on a small cattle farm, town of like 300 people. So kind of middle of nowhere. And I always loved golf. And actually, that's how I learned to play golf was just hitting golf balls into our cattle pasture and then going out, picking them up, bringing them back and hitting them. It would have been great to have a Flightscope at that time. I would have been able to get a bunch of data, right? And then just after high school, I decided to go to a trade school in Orlando for golf management and met a bunch of people from all over the world that were there to attend the schooling and get just like a degree in golf management. And after that, kind of bounced around a few golf clubs for a little while, and both in Florida and Iowa, and kind of did the back and forth thing, and just got tired of moving every time winter struck in Iowa. So I moved to Florida permanently, and was a tournament director for 5 or 6 years, and ran a boatload of golf tournaments. And then some of my friends from school worked at Flightscope already, and kind of brought me aboard, and that was in 2018. So I've been here for just about 5 years now, and loving the aspect of traveling to showcase all of our products, and then also being able to rub elbows with some tour pros is a really cool aspect of it too.
That is so cool. So Daniel, my question is, what is your song that you would walk up to on the first tee? What is that song and why?
Oh, man. I honestly, I'm not a fan of the Patriots or the Buccaneers, but I think I'd have to channel the championship song from Tom Brady, Bad Boys for Life. I think that's the best one just because there's not a lot of, explicit words or anything in it, but it's nice and to the point.
I love that. So as you're in the golf industry, and what would the advice and tips you would give somebody that wants to learn golf or they're in golf? What would be that advice that you would give that person if they're interested, they're in it, they're just beginning, or they're scared blank out of their mind? What would that advice be?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the first is don't be scared. Everybody was there at some point, right? So everybody started in the same spot you're at. Some of us just started when we were very young and got the embarrassing part out of the way before too many people saw us, right? No, so it's honestly the biggest thing is just stay confident, and it's not something that you learn and pick up overnight. It takes time. I've been playing golf now for 26 years, and in my opinion, I still stink. So it's always a game that you're going to try to keep getting better at. But the biggest thing is don't be afraid to ask people for help. Right? It's definitely something where you're not going to be able to learn this game on your own. You always need, even the professionals use other people to help them, whether that be a mental coach or even a swing coach or even just a friend to give you a few pointers here and there. The biggest thing is don't be afraid to ask for help. And you can even lean on technology now. You can get a lot of information from it. And from your friends, you can still, get some technology and help learn, in those that you don't have the teacher with you, because that's kind of the beauty and big part of our technology is when you're not with that instructor, you can still get some information that maybe can enhance that conversation at your next lesson.
I think that's so true. I mean, I remember when I started learning last year, I officially started learning last year with an official lesson, how scared I was. And then, you have those nerves, but you just gotta put them aside. Everybody knows you're not going to be, a famous golf professional. Let's be honest here. We all
Right.
don't have those incredible talents. So, what are some of the highlights that you can tell us from your career in golf and Flightscope's career that, like, is your, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing ever? What are some of those cool moments that happened for you and Flightscope?
Yeah, I mean, definitely for me, just because I'm kind of a golf fanatic and sports fanatic for that matter. But anytime that I've gotten to work directly with some of the touring professionals was definitely a highlight for me. I definitely come to a memory of it was, I believe, about 6 months before Matt had won the U.S. Open. So probably January of last year or late December. Doesn't matter. But was out on the Bears Club with Matt on the driving range and was just going through some things. We had some software updates and was kind of training him on some new features of our product. And we're sitting there for 35, 40 minutes, and then out comes Rory McIlroy. And so then Rory's standing next to us, and he's going through like 20 or 30 different driver shafts that he's just testing on his own with nobody around him, which was honestly really cool to, just kind of give a glance at how they go through their equipment testing. But then it wasn't like 10 minutes later, and here comes Donald and then Jason Duffner. And before I knew it, I was standing on the range with like 15 tour guys who just weren't playing that week and were out practicing. And just to see the different ways that each of them practiced, what they focused on, that was really eye-opening for me and really cool. And that honestly is a big way that I learn because if we want to get better, we got to watch the best in the world and see how they practice and prepare. And so that for me, that was definitely some of the coolest moments. I've been to a few tour events, not too many really inside the ropes, but have been to a few tour events and seen, like Tiger play up close. And that was really cool for me. I'm a big Tiger Woods fan. But outside of that, I mean, as far as golf goes, those are definitely my highlights. And, just being able to have conversation with those guys and they're asking information from me is just, kind of comes full circle and it's really, really cool. So.
I was going to say that is really cool to be out on the driving range, not in an event, and they're just mastering their craft. I think and I feel that the public doesn't really realize they're just normal people. I mean, they are very nice and welcoming people. They're not, standoffish. Given if they are practicing, be mindful.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there's definitely, you've got to be able to read the room, right? So you got to know, is it the week of a major? Maybe we shouldn't make too many jokes this week, something like that. But no, honestly, all of them have always been, so nice for everything and very accommodating. And all of these guys, they want help and they know that we can help them. So they've always been very courteous. So we're always so appreciative of the guys that we work with on tour.
That is so cool. I mean, what an enjoyment part of your job is to, show and see what goes on when people aren't or fans aren't around them. I mean, that's got to be a great feeling to just, you're just working with Matt and Rory and, other players come out. I mean, that's so cool to have that special, like, or not entertainment, engagement with them.
Right. Well, yeah, and especially because, for most, for the public eye, we see, who they are through social media, especially nowadays, and through what we get on their interviews and stuff on TV. But to actually like meet them and see that they are, they're just not robots on TV, right? They're actual humans and they have expressions and they have, they're genuine people just like you and me. It's really heartwarming to be able to see how, all of your hard work can pay off in that relative speaking. But yeah, no, it was really cool. Yeah, like I said, that's definitely some of the coolest experiences is getting on the range when nobody's around and it's just you and the tour player and you're just, you're actually like working, right?
and that's the fun part is it's work, but it's interesting to see how they go through their practice. I mean, they practice on so many different things. And I've been at a couple tournaments in the past, and a lot of fans always ask me, hey, when are the players coming out to the driving range? And my response is always like, well, they're technically probably at the putting green and chipping right now. Driving's the last thing that they work on because, I mean, you chip and you putt more than you drive.
Right. Their focus is solely on short game. They know that's where they're going to make their money for the week for sure. Yeah.
So what is Flightscope up to in the future? Can you give us little teasers of what's maybe coming down the pipe or, something to look out for in the future?
Yeah. I mean, we're definitely, trying to follow and watch all of the changes with professional golf. Obviously, it's an exciting time for golf to be able to analyze and try to predict what's going to happen. That's the hard part is nobody really knows what's going to happen on the professional golf front. We're all just kind of eagerly waiting. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think that we're gonna add some additional software things and things like that that will be enhanced. Honestly, we don't get told as sales rep of hardware stuff that's coming because they don't want us to tell people about it. But we yeah we typically release things at the PGA show, which is in January here in Orlando. We have a huge luxury with it being right here in our backyard. So that week is obviously big for us. We bring in, people from all over. We have offices in Japan and Europe and South Africa. So we bring everybody together, and it's awesome because, finally see people face to face that we typically only see on a computer screen and interact and work with them. So it's a really special week for us. And then of course, like most companies, that's when we do our big releases. The Mevo Plus 2023, which I have here, it was released just at this last year's PGA show. So don't anticipate hardware changes coming, but I can anticipate some new software things that could really enhance the product and make it better. We just added the face impact location and stuff, so it's pretty impressive what it's doing now. We've just got to try to get it in everybody's hands possible, so that way they can experience the technology.
That is so cool. So where are all of where is all of the offices around the world for Flightscope? You said Japan, South Africa. What are some of like the major hubs that you guys are located?
Yeah, so our world headquarters is Orlando, Florida. That's where most of our team going to be as far as sales and marketing, and then our technical support for North America is there as well. And then we also have our production facility, and our original office and stuff is in South Africa. So that's where all our manufacturing and production takes place, which is where our company is from, and that's where our CEO Henry is from, and a lot of our employees are from South Africa. So we're very prominent in South Africa in that regard. And then we have an office in Poland and Japan, and then also South Korea as well. We have some offices. So our main office, like I said, it's here Orlando, is where we kind of direct and coordinate everything from. But those other offices are more just for sales and marketing in those regions.
That is so cool. So for the public that can't attend the PGA show, can you tell them a little bit of what it's really like going to a PGA show as an exhibitor? What like kind of things you look forward to? What is it really like for the public that can't attend because it's a closed event? Can you explain to them what it's kind of really like for somebody within the industry?
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. I've actually experienced it in all three phases. So I've been there as a student or as just a person attending the show. I've been there as a golf professional working in the industry, and then I've now been there as a vendor working on the other side of the convention, right? So it's I like to tell people it's like Disney World for golfers, right? So number one, you definitely can't see it all in one day. You definitely, even if you go all 3 days, you're probably not going to see everything, even if you try. And number three is, even though it looks the same or similar every year, it's different every single year. There's new things, there's new exciting announcements. They have events that are exciting every single year that are different. And then they even have the training for the PGA professionals and the summits and stuff that they have even the weekend and days leading up to the actual show. And then of course, demo day. Demo day is arguably one of the coolest days for the golf show, where you get to go and have a private testing of all the new equipment, of all of the new technology that's out there on the driving range at OCN, and you get to test it firsthand outdoors. It's pretty cool. And it's honestly, as busy as it is, you still have pretty good access to all the equipment. I'm not sure if you agree with that, but I still feel like it's not like Disney where you're waiting in line. Trust me.
I was gonna say I totally agree with you 100%. You can't see everything one day. You can't see anything in that short amount of time. I always tell people when they ask me about it, it's like Christmas for golfers in the industry. It's the one time when you get to see everybody, you get to catch up with everybody. It's a mini reunion. Your feet are going to hurt. You're going to have long days, but you're going to have a lot of fun along the way and a lot of great memories.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And, it's like it's those long days you have at the show, where you're there from, we're there as vendors like 7 in the morning until like 7 at night. And then we usually have some type of vendor parties or events that we go to in the evening, and we're not home till midnight, and then we're waking up again at, 5 in the morning to go do it again. And it's so much fun because, like I said, you're with people who you don't normally get to spend that time with, or, customers and vendors that you only get to see at that time for the year, and then it's catching up and planning for the year ahead. And it really is a special week in the industry, and something that we look forward to every year for sure.
I'm the same way. I'm looking forward to it. I always look forward to it. I'm always like, how many more days till the PGA show? And I
Oh yeah,
feel that if the public could attend, they would be just amazed on everything, the new changes, the new updates, everything. I mean, it literally. I wish it was a longer than what 4 days, but I
yeah,
mean,
no,
it happens.
exactly. Yeah, and it's actually funny when you tell people like, oh yeah, they build a driving range inside the convention center, and people are like, well, how? And it's like, well, you have to see it to believe it. But yeah, it is. Like they actually have a full driving range, and you can test everything right there. And there's a lot of technology that gets released, so it really is the biggest event for the industry for sure of the year.
And it's really fun to be able to try those manufacturers and you guys also out at OC and at the driving range and in the indoor to see what kind of differences it really is compared to indoor and outdoor. I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah. And we kind of allow it to be set up in both scenarios, right? So you can test it outdoors. You can come in. We have like a full simulator build that you can test the simulation and play golf courses on. And then in the same bay, you can go right back out and hit on the driving range indoors right there, kind of see the differences. So it really is awesome for us because we do get customers or vendors that will come through and say, hey, I want to test it both indoors and outdoors and say, okay, just see us on Tuesday and on Wednesday and we can complete everything for you. It is really cool to be able to do all of that in one location, essentially.
it is so cool. I mean, you guys were the first exhibitor that I saw at the PGA show. So it was a great way to start and realize how rusty I really was living in Wisconsin after not playing for
Oh
four
yeah.
months. So
Hey, at least it was warm at the demo day this year. That was the first time in so long it's been warm.
I remember, I think it was not the, it was like maybe before, right before COVID happened. I remember it was so cold. People were wearing winter jackets and hoodies and beanies at demo day. And I've never seen that happen. It was the
Oh yeah,
craziest
we
thing.
we had so many employees that were underprepared and it just never warmed up that day. It was just windy and brutal and yeah, luckily we had coffee.
Or other liquid refreshments.
Yeah.
So Daniel, how did Flightscope come from South Africa to the States? How did that kind of change? I'm just curious because that's fascinating itself, starting in South Africa and then moving to the States.
Sure. So after developing the product, we knew that we had to get to the U.S. Because that's where our biggest market is, and that's where we can, sell the most product, and that's where the PGA Tour was. And so that's, was the thing is we wanted to get into the U.S. And so, believe in 2008 they moved the headquarters here to Orlando, which a big portion of that was the ease of direct flights to and from South Africa, and then of course the PGA show was here, so it made a lot of sense to do it right here in Orlando. And so 2008, they moved over, and that's when we really started taking off with our products in portable technology with our X series and X2 radars that then really took off into the teaching professional world and really got our products spring. As soon as we got to the U.S., things grew exponentially.
That
And
is
then, of
so
course, that's when we started sprinkling in PGA Tour and getting our stuff out there as well.
that is so cool. And then what are the prices for each of Flightscope's products? Is there a price range for if you don't want to go super expensive? Like what is the price range for each product for the viewers and listeners?
Sure. So we have three products in the golf side. There is the Mevo, which is honestly not much. I don't have one. I apologize, but it's not much bigger than like my AirPods case here. So it's quite small. It can fit in your pocket, and they run right around $500 typically. And they're great for your consumer golfer who is looking to see how far their ball travels. It can help you take a video of your golf swing, and it gives you up to 8 parameters with every time you hit a golf ball, basically. For the golfer that's looking for a little bit more, we have our Mevo Plus, which is the 2023 edition. which has a little bit better battery, and we upgraded the kickstand a little bit. So some minor changes for the device. And it runs around $2,200 to $2,000 on promo, whatever it has at the time being. And it gives you 16 data parameters every time you golf ball. And the biggest thing is that it's going to show you, if the ball is slicing or drawing. So that way we can now use it for a golf simulator. So it really opens the ability to sell to different avenues, and then also to be used for different things. So, for husbands who need to convince their wives, there's multiple things that it can be used for. And, we always got to make sure that we're covering the finance department in every household there. So, no, I'm just kidding. So the Mevo Plus, like I said, it's right around $2,000, and you can add some software enhancements to it, like the package and face impact location, that can then add more data like face and path, and actually give you the same amount of data as our high-end launch monitor, which is the X3. So roughly $3,300 with the Mevo Plus, you can gain the same data capabilities as our X3 model, which is around $15,000. So it is pretty cool now that we've brought that type of data and technology with that same type of accuracy now to the consumer world. And again, it can be used while you're playing golf courses. You can take it to the actual golf course and use it while you're playing around. You can use it on the driving range while you're practicing. It's connected with different training systems like the stack system and super speed sticks for like gaining speed and upping your club head speed and things like that. So it's super versatile and really can be used by any golfer. And that's why it's been, probably the hottest launch monitor on the market since it launched just before COVID. And then, we got very fortunate and everybody needed something to do in their house, right? So it became very, very popular during COVID. And it's springboarded us into that pro package and face imp release, which we've done the last two PGA shows.
That is so cool. Daniel, I know Flightscope. Can you use Flightscope for training purposes? Like if you have a coach and they're trying to teach you a swing, I know for a fact that, right, you guys can help with the training of your golf swing. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So the beauty of our devices is whenever you use one, you can actually utilize and get that data at any time through the Flightscope cloud. So it sends all of the report of the data to your profile per se. And you can then, share that with your instructor. Maybe you are working really hard with your instructor on something within your golf swing, and it applies to a specific data parameter. Let's say the club path per se. And you have your Mevo Plus, and you go and you work hitting 5 buckets of balls throughout you can then take that data back to your instructor and say, hey, this is where I was when I left. Here's where I am today. And maybe you save 20 or 30 minutes of your lesson and to show your instructor where you're at. And now you're learning more and learning faster. Plus, it also gives you the ability when you're away from your instructor that you can help teach yourself a little bit too.
Yeah. And no matter what, you can always keep learning when it comes to golf. You're never going to stop learning. There's always something that you can tweak or fix.
Yep. It's just like the Roadrunner and the Coyote. We're always chasing.
And then Daniel, is there anything else you'd like to tell fans of Flightscope, fans of golf, or anybody else that's listening to this podcast?
No, I mean, obviously, our message is definitely performance data you can trust, and always trying to strive to be better at the game of golf, and that's what we're here for. There's loads of products that you can look at when you're trying to get better at the game of golf. The difference, like I've mentioned before, is that we support, some of the top athletes in the world, and, we work with them on a daily basis, and we're able to use their input to make our products better. And to be able to offer that to every golfer of every skill level is really unmatched. So it really is a privilege to be, brought on your podcast. So I appreciate, you having me, obviously. But it's definitely a pleasure to have a product like this. It really does make it easy to sell. So.
Awesome. Daniel, it's been such a pleasure to finally meet you after emailing you and emailing the team. It's been so great to get to know Flightscope more on a personal level. To you, Daniel, and to my viewers and listeners of Tee Up with Miss Kira, I hope you all have a great day. And if you're playing golf, stay hydrated.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to link up at the PGA show and do a video or something too. So.
Yes, next time.
Definitely.